Hey, how you guys doing today? Um, just want to talk about something. It always seems to get me in trouble. I was talking with a friend. We were talking about spiritualities, and um, I guess in their mind, they wanted to make one particular spiritual movement the apex. And I'm okay with that to a degree, in that I believe God is talking to all of us. Now, in many ways, people say, well, how is that? Well, God speaks to the Islamic person. God speaks to the Buddhist person. God speaks to the Hindu person. God speaks to the Native American during their worship process, as well as many, many other spiritual consciousness. Christianity, I know in this particular country, is the dominant religion. And I'm comfortable with that. But I was also saying to them, I'm not going to try to forbid anybody else their religion. And the argument came up. They said, well, Jesus said, I am the way. That's the only way. And I'm comfortable with that thought if that is truly their belief. But I'm uncomfortable with the idea that the Islamic person or whatever the spirituality will not get to heaven. Now, I was standing with a friend the other day. He was telling me a joke. He said, there was a man standing in front of a church, and they were just having such a good time in that church, and that man was just standing out there just wanting to go inside. And there was another gentleman standing next to him, and they began to talk, and the gentleman said to him, well, why don't you just go inside? He said, well, they don't accept me. And then he turned to the other gentleman. He said, well, why won't you go inside? And the gentleman looked and took a deep breath. He said, I'm Jesus, and they won't even let me inside. You see, Jesus lives in the heart of a person. Well, when you talk about spirituality in that respect, you're talking about love, you're talking about charity, you're talking about forgiveness, you're talking about being an aid, a help to one another. But in this case, like I said, there was an argument starting to happen, and I could feel it because I'm not going to argue which one is the greatest. I believe that if you are living that spiritual life, not that spiritual life where you find reasons to condemn others or to as some people do, actually murder other people, then I have a problem with that, because the God that I know, the God that has come into my heart and has shown me many things, took me one time to a city called Santa Fe, New Mexico. Now, I went in agreement because the name translated into Holy Faith. And while in Santa Fe, I began to walk in the Sangria de Cristo Mountains, which is translation is the blood of Christ. And it was in my walk up in the mountains where I had climbed up on this hill that I'd always wanted to go up, but I never seemed to have the time, and it took a little bit of conditioning. And when I finally had accomplished the time as well as the conditioning, I took that journey up on that hill. And when I arrived on the top of that, well, I keep saying hill, but it was actually a mountain. And there was an opening. And I looked down and I saw this big rock protruding from the side. And I thought to myself, I'm going to go stand over here and just look. And when I did that, all of a sudden, such a great vista opened up. I mean, you could see the valley, you could see the trees. They were all changing colors. You could see other rocks, you could see other mountain peaks. And it hit me instantaneously. This is the image that God wanted me to understand, that God is the greatest abstract artist ever. You see, God created all of us. And much like language, God would speak to them through the language of Islam, through the language of Buddha, through the language of Hare Krishna. Because when you hear Christians talk, it is the same thing. We're talking about love. We're talking about peace. We're talking about helping our fellow human being. And we are appalled when we see people who are being treated badly just simply because of the color of their skin. And like I said, this conversation gets me in trouble because most people want to believe that they are the apex of whatever the spirituality is. But what God revealed to me is that we need to open our hearts, because in today's world, it is the spiritual world, and we need all faith to come together in love, peace, calmness of a sound mind. and began to work on this that we are now facing. We live in what we call a Christian country. And I ask people all the time, if you were to hold your Bible up and compare it to the behaviors of those in our politics, would they line up with being Christian? I'm not going to say yay or nay. I'm just saying just do that. And you begin to understand that there's more to being godly than just claiming a particular faith. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I'm not interested in anybody trying to yell at me, but I'm going to go to another locale and just be.